Yes, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Studio Live, and in this video we will be diving into this mix and taking a look at where I'm at with my Songtember song. But first, you might have seen by the title of this one, I wanted to have a bit of a chat because we are here on what is the 23rd of September. I had to check my watch. The 23rd of September here in Australia. It might be the 22nd where you are in the world, which means that we're about three-quarters, or very close to three-quarters the way through the month of September. Now, if you're not familiar with Songtember, this is our Song in a Month challenge, where I've thrown down the challenge to create, record, and release an entire song in the month of September. Now, if that sounds a bit daunting, well, sometimes it can be. And that's what I wanted to cover in this one, because there is some important mental health things to think about. And I'm going to start by saying one of my favorite phrases to say, which is that music is fun, or it's supposed to be fun. If it stops being fun, stop doing it. I say this to my children all the time. They'll be playing a game and they'll be screaming at each other, and I'll say, "Are you guys having fun?" And they're like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "You're supposed to be playing a game. It's supposed to be fun. If neither of you are enjoying it, why don't you try and do something else?" So that's sort of the front comment I wanted to put out there. And what if you have doubt in your mix? So I definitely have some doubt in this mix. You just heard a little bit of it there at the start. I have natural doubt, and I was chatting to someone online. Someone said, "Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. This is how I feel. I feel bad because I doubt to myself, and I doubt what I'm doing." And I said, "Well, if you want to feel a bit better, you know the people that don't have any doubt in anything they do ever? Sociopaths." So you are not a sociopath if you have self-doubt. So there you go. There's a comforting thought right up front. So we are going to, it's a bit of a hybrid video. It's going to be a little bit of music and then a little bit of talking about this sort of stuff, because I think it's super important. Jade Star, who's here on the live stream and is doing another show straight after this one, she covered it on one of her videos, and I thought, yeah, we need to talk about this, because there might be some folks who are listening to me and, you know, it's all rah-rah and encouragement and all this positive time pressure stuff and this resilience that I talk about. It's all well and good, but what if you fail? Like, it's not a yes-no, black-white situation. There's not a, "Oh no, I didn't get it done," because here's the good news, right? If you started in the start of September and you're like, "Yeah, I'm going to do this Songtember thing. I'm going to feel great because at the end of the month, I'm going to have my song done," and you don't get there, the reality is that you don't need to feel bad about it, because guess what? If you didn't start, you would be 0% there. So if you are anything but 0% complete with your song, you're better than you would have been if you hadn't started. And I think a lot of folks miss that. You know, if you aim up here and you land here, that's better than down here, right? So keep that in mind, that if you don't get there on the 30th of September and you finish your song on the 5th of October, hey, that's cool. You did a song in like 35 days. That's fine. That's cool. So I wanted to put that out there because I talk a lot. Again, my mantra is create, record, release. And the reason I talk about that and the positive time pressure is that I'm talking to people who aren't doing anything and are making excuses for why they're not creating anything. So I want to encourage those people to actually create, record, and then release something and get something and share something out there with the world. But if that's not your bag, if that's not for you, that's totally cool. That's my experience and that's my opinion. You know that I'm on this track at the moment where I want to say, if everyone just used the words "in my experience" and "in my opinion," everything will be a lot better. On the flip side of that, am I saying, you know, when the going gets tough, just give up and stop and don't be resilient? No. I'm saying that if you do hit a wall, if you do hit a point where you are doubting yourself, where you think you're going to fail, there's some strategies and some tactics and some techniques that you can use that are going to help you out. We're going to talk about those a little bit later in the show here. But first of all, let's say g'day to the folks who are kind enough to be here live. Jade Star is optimizing Pete John's performance. Arnie G's in the house. We've got Tom Rochelle. We've got Gary Hubbs. Patrick Chandler is here. I hope you're doing well. Greetings from yesterday in the USA. Yes, hello. I hope your yesterday is going well. I've got Josh Gates here. G'day to you, Tej Modadi from the UK. And our friend Andy Goldsby is there as well. Deep Gravity. Been checking out your videos. You see, talk about hitting go and recording and getting started. Deep Gravity, very proud of you. Just been starting. Just hit record and start talking. Been really enjoying watching your videos and your commentary there. Benedict Stewart, welcome to you. Who have I missed? I think I've said g'day to everyone. If I missed you, hello to Kaz. Kaz says, I started the song this month and halfway done. Hopefully I get it done before September ends. It's my first time doing a DNB song. Well, congratulations and good luck. Hello to Lush Vegas over there in Germany, and to Claire Campbell. Hello to you. I'm finally 16. Woo. Happy 16. I'm assuming that your 16th birthday, not that you've created 16 songs. Well, there you go. In your 16th year, create 16 songs. There you go. That's my tip. Rightio. Should we jump in and talk some music and see where I'm at? Because I need your help. I need your help with my mix. Because here's the first thing I'm going to talk about with me and what I've been doing. I've been procrastinating. So I'm just going to check my camera, tilt my camera up a bit because it's cutting off my head. I've been procrastinating recording my lyrics and my vocals because I haven't been super happy with them. I've rewritten them a couple of times. I've tried to record a few things and it's just not come out right. I do have some scratch vocals up the top here, and I will unmute them. Let's unmute them now. I will play them, but they're not sounding good. And every time I sit down to record, it's not coming out right. So I am going to need to do that in the next couple of days. But what I thought is, instead of just going, oh, I can't do my vocals, I can't start my mixing. Well, of course I can. I can start my mixing. In fact, my instrumental mix is almost 100% done. Now, I know it's not ideal to be able to mix when you don't have the proper vocals in there, but I got my placeholder vocals in there. I got everything else. I think it's sounding pretty cool. So yeah, you be the judge though, because we're going to dive in and take a bit of a listen. First of all, we'll go through. We're going to do a few different things. I'll change things up. I'll move some tracks around. We're going to clean up this track as I go. So sorry, this is going to be partly to help you, hopefully, and give you some ideas, and partly for me to motivate me to get this track a bit organized. So first things first, what do? We back up. That's right. Making wholesale changes to a track, we need to close out, we need to duplicate it, and create a version. And yes, you can see we're up to version 10. We're going to duplicate my Songtember track. Songtember 2020 number 10 is here. If you caught yesterday's video, you would have seen that I was in number 9, and I was playing around with the bass line. I'm pretty comfy with where the bass line is at now. I copied Jay's little bass idea from Songtember 7 over to number 9, and now we have number 10 here. So where's that bass line? I've got it down here. This track's in weird orders here, which is the other problem that we have. So there is our bass line, which you can see there. Yes, Jade's bass is a different volume to mine, but you know what I've done? I've come in here, I've used my settings, and I've just clip gained it down about 4 dB. So that's working out well. If we just, I'll start with the bass because we showed that yesterday. So here's my bass going into Jade's bass here. Oh, turn up the volume, Pete. So here's the end of my bass. So yes, it's a bit cleaner. And then we go into Jade's bass. So in fact, what I'm going to do, here's a bonus tip for you. You can see, I mentioned in the video, but then I didn't fix it up. See how the cut is right there on the actual note? Here's a tip. Usually, well, no, sometimes, you might be coming in slightly early. Now, there's no problem with that. It sounds fine, especially with guitars. But what we want to do is just shimmy this back a couple of notches and shimmy this back a couple of notches. You can see how we've just cut off. So originally we cut off the start of that transient of the first note. So this can help you out. It doesn't matter where that is. You're not going to sort of notice. But if you have your cut right there on the note, especially if you're going from one note to another, you're going to get some clicks and pops in there. So now when we transition this, it should sound actually better. So there's my last note, and then we get that full transient on that first note. Got it? Right, so there's my bass. What I'm going to do, so I've got my drums and my bass here. They're all cool. Don't need my metronome drums. That's just that little lead-in bit. Here's all my guitars up the top here. So you can see that we've got a few different guitars. So we've got our left and right main guitars here. We've then got a lead guitar. Oh, no, that's not the lead guitar. That's the ending guitar. I've got the notes right there. So we've got our left and right rhythm guitars. We've got our center ending. So I'll show you what that all means in a minute. We've got our fast guitar left and right, which are at similar volumes to these two. So they are just at the different speed. We could have these on these tracks, but you can see there's a wee bit of overlap there. I just want these guitars to ring out before these ones kick in. And in fact, just to get the order right, why don't we grab this guitar, this is our ending guitar, and bring that down to here. So that's in the right spot. And these are our drums. So let's bring the drums down to here. And then our lead, we've got 2 lead guitar parts. So we've got, and they're slightly weirdly named at the moment. So what we'll do, I'll grab my keyboard, using my mouse and keyboard here on GarageBand iOS today. So we'll tap that one, we'll rename it. Like I said, just doing a little bit of maintenance. So this is now my lead guitar. So this was originally my lead parts ideas track. This is now my lead guitar. This one here is sort of it's going to act as like a third rhythm guitar at the end, and I'll show you what it does in a minute. So we'll rename this one. So this one's going to be guitar, add rhythm ending. Doesn't matter what you name things, as long as you're there. And then we've got this metronome drums fast part. They've kind of just become the drums, but I'll leave it as that because that is where we're at then. We've got the drums here. Now, I took a leaf out of Gary Hubbs's book with these drums, and I'll show you them right now because what Jade has done, Jade who recorded these drums for me, thank you once again to Jade, she's got all the original drums here, but then she's done me a solid and split them all out with the kicks, the double kicks, the snare, the toms, the hats, the crash. And this has been really cool because you can see I've blended them together to get what I think is a cool drum sound, because if you have everything together, you know, playing around with velocities, trying to get the right balance for your drum sound, not going to work. Whereas in this one, I definitely wanted my kick and snare to really cut through the mix. So you can see the kick and snare are slightly mixed up. My toms are in the middle there. And then my crashes are also quite aggressive because those crash sounds I wanted to really cut through as well. So here is, if we solo out all of the actual drum sounds, let's see what drum sound I've got. This is not the final mix, but it's getting close. So we'll get all of these here. So here is our drum sound from the start. If we hit play on this one. And because Jade's awesome, she's even got the 2 crashes in there. So she's split out the crashes so that we've got 2 separate crashes, one on the left and one on the right, as you'll hear. She's done that by adding a second kit. So you can see it's a slightly different kit, that one and that one. So you can have your second crash. So yeah, that's very, very cool. Gary's here and he said, excited to have shared a tidbit with Pete. Scoreboard is Pete 100, Gary's one. Oh, my friend. Look, that's why I do the creator series. Actually, I've got another, I'll tell you, I won't bury the lead. Satish Robertson is on the creator series this weekend, trumpet player extraordinaire out of New York. He records his trumpet into GarageBand. So yeah, I learn something new every time I talk to someone else, which I did with Gary. So what I've actually done here now is I've added in, I shouldn't have soloed all those, I've added back in the original drums, but if we come in here to the mixer, I've actually come in here and I've used this cool VBO1 plugin to give this a whole bunch of reverb. I'm going to have to come back and unsolo these. Don't you hate that when you solo a bunch of stuff and then you just want to hear one thing and you realize that you have to unsolo everything else? It's why you should use your mutes first and then only use your solos later. But here's these original drums, and I've kind of used these like a room mic for my drums. So if we take a listen to these, I'll come into a different section so you're not too bored with what we're hearing. You hear that? So here's the original sound if we don't have the reverb on. It's just a quiet version of that, but I've made it a drum room sound. And if we start bringing in, I'll keep that playing and then I'll bring in the rest of the kit, and you can hear how it kind of builds around it and just creates a cool spatial kind of sound with the drums. Our kicks back in. Our snares back in. The toms. The hats. Our crashes, and our ride. So it's not doing a heap, but if we remove it, bring it back, just adding a little bit of extra space to it. Now, yeah, I do also have some of the reverb quite heavily on even the kick and the snare and everything here. Probably don't need that much reverb on the kick, to be honest. But on the kick and the snare and the other, not actually, I don't have anything on the double kick. A little bit on there. But yeah, so you can see I've gone pretty heavy on the reverb, especially on the snare and on the other parts of the drum kit, because I really want this to have that big sort of stadium rock sound, that big 90s Pearl Jam drum sound. So that is where we're at with the drums. I think they're starting to sound good, but most of that is because Jade created those well. She got it right at the source, which is cool. Now, our drums for the fast part here, So, what do we have here? Well, this was actually just brought directly in from Drummer. So I used the Auto Drummer. If you didn't see that one, I'll just give a quick revision on this one. So here is my Songtember fast section. It's legitimately just Anders playing a ridiculous 220 BPM beat. And it wasn't worth going back and changing anything for this, because here's Anders doing his thing. It's almost subhuman, right? So I don't think a human could. Well, no, some of the best humans that play speed metal and things can probably do a 220 BPM double kick pattern, but I think my buddy Liam, who's one of the best drummers here in Adelaide, could probably do it, but I definitely couldn't, and I didn't want Jade's feet to fall off trying to do that to play it in live. So that's all we did there, is we exported that sound and brought it in over here, and it sounds like this. So you get that transition from the original one into that. And you'll hear that when we start bringing the other instruments in here. Let's bring our bass in to this. We'll do sort of a solo building it up kind of thing here. So our drums and bass together, especially in this cool section, are sounding really cool. They sound like this. So yeah, so there's our drums and our bass together. What did I tap there? The problem with GarageBand is you tap things, then they sort of jump around. Yeah, Jeff Brush, drummer extraordinaire, could probably get there, but yeah, again, it would hurt your feet. And yeah, it was because the BPM change in the project. It is hard, and especially because the drums are driving that with the 4 hits on the crash cymbals, and that might have a me going 1, 2, 3, 4, because nothing's cooler than a 1, 2, 3, 4 count inside your song, right? Hello to Kirk Lerpu. Composition is cool and all, but mixing and mastering is another topic. Yeah. Absolutely. And hopefully we're going to cover a little bit of that in this video. But yeah, stay tuned, because we'll be covering some more mixing and especially mastering topics in the next couple of days here on the channel as we finish off this song. Let's bring our guitars back in, because these are what's driving this song. Now, if you've missed what I've done with these guitars in the past, the left side guitar here, rhythm guitar, is using the standard brownstone, and this was like a placeholder with the treble boost and the brownstone. This was a placeholder sound. And what happens a lot of the times is that you lay down your placeholder sound, and then it grows with the song, and then you're like, I can't find a better tone. And sometimes, again, with that whole doubt thing, sometimes just let it be. Like, don't overthink it. Hands up the overthinkers amongst us. Yeah, right here. Yeah, it's really easy to overthink things when you get to this stage in your mix. And I just want to encourage you that if it sounds good, it is good. And sometimes what you don't do is as good as what you do. Yes, I said do. So this is this brownstone sound. So if we come back to the start of the track, sounds like this. So what we've done there in terms of plugins, we don't have much on. In fact, I don't even have a compressor on here. Sometimes when you're using an amp sim, you don't even need compression. If I find later in the mix it's not cutting through enough, maybe I need to turn the compressor on. But if you don't need it, you don't need to use it. I have done some EQing here though. So you'll see here I've reduced some of the low and mids just using the visual EQ, and I've given this one a treble boost, which is why it's sounding sort of on the crispy side. What I've then done is brought in this guitar. Oh, did I just notice that? Yeah, I've turned it down here. No wonder it was a little bit quieter than I thought. I've turned it down there on the actual EQ. I'll reset that to 0 and then rebalance it out here, because I don't quite know why I did that. This one, however, the right guitar, I took Jade Starr's advice and I played around with tone bridge. So if we come into the tone bridge, yes, it's the glorified G Pearl Jam guitar tone, and I've literally just turned that on and used it. If you don't know glorified G, it's from their Versus album, glorified version of a Pelican, that one. And yeah, really cool song, and it has this Has this really cool guitar riff, and again, I just took Jay's advice, and she said, just find a Pearl Jam tone that you like, dial it in with Tone Bridge, and go. And I did. So we'll play just the right guitar. So your right guitar sounds like this. And when we bring it back with the left, so we've got sort of that left-right complementary tone guitar sound going on here. And you'll notice, yeah, we've done the opposite here, right? So we've actually dropped the treble on this tone and we've given it a mid boost around the same place we cut it. Only a couple of dB, not much there at all. Only, what is that? 2.5 dB up there, and then we've dropped the treble off. We've ramped it down like 7.5 dB, but right up here at the top end. And that just brings your guitars together and gives a nice balance across the left and the right side. So because I played both of these with my Les Paul, despite the icons there, I was using the Les Paul, I actually used that complementary EQ method there to give them a different tone. And you could do the same thing with the natural tones. Say you had a Telecaster on one side and a Les Paul on the other, or a Strat on one side, a Tele on the other. The different types of pickups on your guitar, and you could even use the neck pickup on one, use the bridge pickup on the other. You can get different tones with your guitars, but don't be afraid to experiment around until you find a guitar tone that you like, which I now have in these guitars. So if we come to a different section, let's come to this faster section and take a listen. So you can hear there with that cool bass that Jade put in there and those guitars rocking out on the drop D power chords. I just think it sounds cool. I'm actually liking this more and more. So again, back to the whole doubting your mix thing. What I've done here, the reason that I have spent so much time sort of crafting and playing around with these is I wanted to avoid the vocals. So I used a tactic, a strategy I call positive procrastination, where in the last couple of days, because I just haven't been able to mentally get myself into these vocals properly, I've gone away and done a whole bunch of mixing. So I spent a lot of time on the instrumental side, which has given me a bit of a kickstart and a head start here. The other things I've done, I went and revamped my whole merch store. I created a new mug, like a new Studio Live Today mug, an optimizing performance one, especially for my GarageBand user friends. I caught up on all my emails. I'm actually up to date on all my messages and emails, which is a rarity. And I mixed all the instruments for the track. So yeah, positive procrastination. Don't underestimate it. If you're not doing the thing, do something else that might push you forward in other areas. Or here's the other side of it. If you need a complete mental break, not break down, but break, then go away and do something else. I think Jade said this on her channel. Go play a video game, go for a walk, go play with your dog, do whatever to completely separate yourself, because you need to take breaks. I was looking at a forum the other day, and my buddy Mike over at Creative Source, someone said, what's your one sort of magic source for mixing, magic tip for mixing? And his was 2 words: take breaks. So yeah, if you're feeling burnt out, if you're feeling like you can't go on, take breaks. Seriously, it will help you out in the short term, the long term, and every term in between. Righty dokie, let's talk lead guitar. Because what I'm going to do, actually, I'll unsolo everything again. I don't know why I keep backing myself into these soloed corners. I should have started with everything muted so that I could just solo things out. But you almost need a turn on, a mute, and a solo. You need like a third state so that you can actually do that as well. By the way, thank you for the folks who are here live. I will jump into the chat in about 5 minutes, just after I've shown you this lead guitar, and before we get to the rest of the mix. If folks have questions or comments or things that you're talking about that you want to know about for your Songtember song, then we can do that. And we'll also talk about some of those other tips we have. So for the challenges when you're doubting yourself and you're doubting your mix, because none of us are sociopaths, we hope. So here we go. I've got my lead guitar here. Once again, I've grabbed Tone Bridge. This time, oh no, I've used the glorified G tone again. I think I came back to it. I've added a bit more of the effect on this one. I thought I'd used a different one. I think originally I had the Alive lead tone, but I've obviously decided against that and gone back with the glorified G tone on the lead guitar. But what I have done on this one is added in a heap of ping pong delay on the quarter note. So you can see there that we've got this. Yep, so the ping pong is on, which means it's going to do a left-right ping pong delay here. We've got quite a bit of feedback in there, and we've got like 32% wet dialed in. So here's, if I turn both of those off, here's the guitar tone. So it's like it's just the middle pickup. So it's both pickups, both the humbuckers on my Les Paul. If we add in the tone bridge, it goes to this. And if we add in the delay, it sounds like this. So how cool is that quarter note delay? If you're not hearing why that's cool, if we turn the metronome back on, it's doing a da-na-na-na-na-na-na. If you're listening on stereo, you'll hear it ping-ponging around, and that is why this free delay plugin is ridiculous. Like, I haven't found a good paid ping-pong delay plugin, but when you're doing something like a lead guitar bit or like one of those cool delay effects at the end, you know, the old 90s punk, don't forget the delay, lay, on the very last word. If you want to do something like that, the ping-pong delay sounds ridiculously cool. So if I put the metronome back on, and I think if we bring this back into the mix, I think these again, I was completely Pearl Jam inspired that I wanted to just get that. Now, is it Mike McCready? My Pearl Jam friends, Brian over on the GarageBand Users Guide is going to, over on GarageBand Users is going to like be angry with me. I can't remember which guitarist, Stone Gossard or Mike McCready, that plays most of the lead riffs. Might be Stone Gossard now that I'm thinking of it. Let me know if you know in the chat. Who's the guy that does most of the lead riffs? Anyway, I was inspired by them because I wanted my lead riffs to just be, you can see we only have like 3 in the whole section and they're very small. So this first one that bridges us here comes in and does this bit. There's a new beginning, ready if you want it. All you gotta do is open up your mind. So again, we're still in the mixing phase. So if you have ideas and suggestions, I should have said that right up front. If you have ideas, suggestions, things that you think need to go in here, need to change, let me know. If you're like, no, the delay's too much, Pete, you need to amp it back a bit. You need to adjust some EQ somewhere. If you're listening and you're thinking something, let me know. Let me know here in the chat. Let me know in the comments, because I am just one person with one brain and one set of ears. You folks are all over the place. Oh yeah, Four Non Blondes. What's going on? The What's Up song. Yeah, what's going on? No. Yeah, that has a similar sort of tone there. Gary also likes the idea of positive procrastination. Absolutely. It is cool because we all procrastinate. Procrastination is completely natural and normal and cool. And sometimes you just need to you need dick around time, right? I read a book by I forgot the guy's name, the Nerdist guy, Chris Hardwick. I read his book called The Nerdist Way. Really good book, actually. I recommend it. And he had this concept of, the hustle culture and this thing where everyone just has to be work, doing productive things 24/7. And then he's like, yeah, until you burn out at like age 30 and then you're completely screwed. So he's like, you need dick around time. Like, you can go too far with it. You can spend too much time dicking around, but you do need that time to just play video games, listen to music, go for a walk, hang out with friends, drink a beer in moderation. Like, all of those things are necessary for your solid mental health. All right, let's jump back over. I'll finish talking about this, and then we will jump back to the chat, because I know folks might have some questions or some things we want to talk about. The final thing here is, well, apart from lyrics, vocals, which I've already talked about. I'm not quite there yet, but if you wanted to just sort of take a look at what I'm thinking in terms of the vocals, I'll just solo these out for a moment. I've got some drive on there, 2.5 dB around that 5,000 hertz. I do have the delay on there that I've been playing around with as well. I don't know why it's off at the moment. And I have a heap of delay and echo over here on this. So at the moment, my lead vocal's sounding like this. Let me scratch on my chair. Hesitation and fear of change. So I'm thinking that I want like a bit of a gravelly, but also a little bit of delay on there. So if we bring that back in the mix. I paralyzed you and made you doubt yourself. And now what folks have been telling me, and I will do once I get the actual vocals in, is especially in this part, we want some additional distortion on there. So whether I just turn up the overdrive, so whether I have some more drive in this part, or I actually add a distortion plugin, probably the latter for this part, where we have these bits here. Watch out! So I'm already sort of starting to gravel it up a bit, so I probably need some more distortion in there. I'll play the whole track at the end of this video, so if you do have feedback and you're listening in and you're saying, Pete, you should do X, Y, and Z, then, or Z, then you can do that as well. We've got Josh Gates thinks it's Mike McCready, but not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure either. Yeah, Mike McCready, Stone Gossard. They're both cool. Pearl Jam for the win. Any Pearl Jam fans in the house? Yeah. Let's continue on. So the final thing I have here, which someone actually said to me, I got a few emails on this already, and they said, you don't need any of this stuff, Pete. Maybe I don't need as much of it, but I definitely want some of it. And you can see here, I removed the organ from this opening part so that I could bring it in the second part and give a little bit of variation. But we do have these other few little sounds here. And if we come to where they're all coming together, it just, I don't know, it just adds something a little bit different, especially to this second verse, because second verse, different from the first, is something that I use as my mantra in most of my songwriting. So if we play this part from here, it sounds like this. Like a totally different song, right? So that just sits underneath, and I kind of like it, but let me know. Do you think it needs to stay, go, come up, go down? Let's just play this part and bring it back in. So all I've got is the organ, the heavy metal organ, the evolving colors, little bass synth, some synth pop strings synth, and some, what is this one? Inharmonic lead going on here. So if we play this with the rest of the mix from around about here, it sounds like this. Open up your mind. Going nowhere fast. See, I think I've become so self-conscious of them that I've turned them down so much that they're barely audible. If anything, they probably need to come up. But yeah, let me know, because I put these in early on, and I really like them. But maybe it's that thing that I'm attached to something that no longer works with the song, because a lot of stuff has changed about this song over time. If you recall right back to Songtember episode 2 or 3, I said, I want to write a happy, upbeat summer vibe song. I mean, this is a little bit upbeat, but it ain't no happy summer vibe song. Like, it's got a happy summer vibe message of it's a new beginning, just go, just do it, just start. But it's not really a happy summer vibe song, because sometimes the song just takes you in directions that you didn't expect it to go. And again, that's an important thing. So coming right back to the topic of this video of doubting your mix, if you're doubting yourself because the song's sort of leading you somewhere and you're resisting, I don't want to go there. I mean, you got two choices. You can stay the course and then just keep pushing that direction, or just see what happens if you let the song drift you wherever it wants to go. In my experience, again, in my opinion, the second way is better. Sometimes you start out trying to write this song and you end up with that song. I wasn't starting with this sort of idea. I wanted it to be probably more punky and probably more, again, more upbeat. Yeah, it didn't quite work out that way. So there you go. Righty dokey, I think we've covered everything. We've got all of our instruments back in the mix. So yes, we'll talk about that later. When we talk about mixing, I'll go into a bit more detail about what I've done in terms of EQ, compression, reverb, and delay. But to be honest, I kind of do it as I go along. You'll notice here I love my master effects in GarageBand. That's what glues it together. That's my secret sauce to glue everything together. If you use the same reverb, and in this one, I'm just using the default reverb, nothing more. So if you use the same reverb on pretty much every track, it can glue the mix together nicely. Now, you don't have to do that. I do it, and it tends to work out well for me. So, yeah, take that with a grain of salt. And then, yeah, the other thing is EQing. Do it if you need it. if there's something that you want to do, like here, we've got some significant ramping on the EQ. Actually, this is probably important. We'll play you the very end of this because there's another little bit here at the end. But yeah, so just use what you need. I've used the wider plugin in here to widen out some guitars. In fact, let's talk this guitar here at the end, because what I've done is at the end, we've got these really fast bits, right? So these come in and they just do that. Don't know why I'm saying that, because I could just do this. And then right at the very end, I just wanted us to go out at the end of this one with a nice quiet bit. So this is where I've got the wider. So I've widened out this guitar because I just wanted one guitar, but I wanted it kind of a bit of stereo space in there. And I've also EQ'd out the bottom end here, again, just using the visual EQ, and added some treble. So it kind of has that distant, almost AM radio sound. So see if you think this sounds cool, or again, nothing is in stone. We can change it. We have unlimited retries here, folks, which is a blessing and a curse. So we'll play this last section.
Go! Go right now! 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 Now!
So you can hear there that, yeah, at the end, I just want it to almost like, it's almost like the main band is playing in the front room, right? And then just a dude is just playing, or a dudette is playing a guitar sort of somewhere in the background at the end of it. Like, just imagine them standing up on a mountain playing that last little riff as the song fades out. So I like that because you have the two speed changes there. You have the speed change going into the fast bit, and then like the payoff at the end is that it comes right back to that original riff that you hear at the start, but it's just the one guitar doing his thing. But if you take a listen, without the wider plugin, it was okay. It sounded like this. It was actually, I'll take off the EQ and the wider plugin. It sounded like this. So can you hear there that it's just a little bit too gutsy? Like, that's fine when you've got everything else, but adding the EQ here, here's what it did, right? It took away. So it made it nice and thin, which you won't always want, but at this part, I totally did want it. So if we now, I'll leave the wider plugin off, I'll play it, and then I'll turn wider on, and you'll just hear what this does to the stereo sound. See how we just get a little bit more width and a bit more space in there? I think that that's cool. I mean, I've been overusing the wider plugin, so I had to be careful. I used it there, and I used it, I think, did I use it on, no, I was going to use it on the lead guitar, but I ended up not. But yeah, you have to be careful with it. But yeah, it's a cool thing to use. There's my mix. I'll see what folks got over here. Tom Rochelle says it might be even cool to drop the guitars out of verse 2 and let the synths take over. Oh, that's actually not a bad idea. Maybe I'll do a B-side where it's just all synth. Like an instrumental synth version of this with just the riff. That could be kind of cool, because yeah, I do like that synth sound there in the second verse where it's like, it's almost relaxing. You're like, what a relaxing vibe. And then you're like, yeah, except you will never. Yeah. Alrighty. So let's come on over and see what other people from the beginning, please. I will play the whole track from the beginning at the start after we've talked about some other stuff that we've got to go through here. Yeah, some of the plugins are super cool. Absolutely. Yeah, especially the wider plugin, loving that. Loving the VBO1 and the DLO1. If you missed those, I did a video on those recently, on the free reverb and delay plugins that are just gold and super duper handy. Loving that. SM Borthwick says the synths sound good, but probably a bit quiet as it is. Yeah, it might even need to come up in the mix, hey? Maybe we'll do that for the final section. Let's just quickly do that. I'll just leave this up here so we can play around with it. Let's just give all of these a wee bit of a boost, shall we? I think especially the synth sounds, especially this one, needs to come up a bit. The strings up a bit. A little tiny bit on the organ. All right, we've made that small tweak. We'll see how that goes when we play it at the end, see if it works. But yeah, thank you. Thank you for the suggestions, and thank you everyone for being here as well. Gary says a strip back to synth would be cool, but the strumming in the riff is too good. Chukka chukka. Yeah, I think you need the chukka chukkas to keep driving along. But yeah, maybe we'll get the best of both worlds. As SM said, maybe just bring up those synths and maybe just drop the guitars down a little bit. We'll automate, because the other thing I need to do a lot of on this mix is automation. I know, Gary, you're a big fan of automation. I don't use it enough. It's actually one of the best ways to get a really clean sound and a really balanced sound, because you would have heard that different parts of this song kind of sound a bit too loud and a bit too soft as you go through. So we definitely need to play around with that and fix things up. Question here from EmoBot9000. Opinion on duplicating a track and panning left and right to get a stereo sound. Good question. So, yeah, you can do that, but here's the thing. If you take one track, so if I just grab any old track, like if I grab this bass, well, the bass is a bad idea. If I grab my vocal, so if I grab my vocal here and I do exactly this, in fact, let's just do a test since you've asked about it, because I get asked this a lot, and it's probably one of the, I wouldn't say mistakes, but one of the misconceptions that folks have when they first start out is that if you have a track here and you say duplicate this, because you're like, I want these vocals to sound stereo, right? I don't want them to be up the middle. I want them to be stereo. So what folks do when they're starting out is that they go, cool, I want stereo. I'm just going to copy, tap it, copy that audio, and then come down here to the next track, paste it in the same spot, like that, paste it in, cool. And then we'll grab these two tracks, we'll get one. So at the moment, these two tracks are exactly the same. So if we play the first vocal, sounds like this.
Hesitation
If we add in the second vocal,
and fear of change.
it's just double the volume, right? So you might go, well, okay, well, let's get some stereo sound. We'll come in here, we'll grab this, we'll pan this one left. So it's going to sound like this.
I've paralyzed you.
And if I grab this one and pan it right and bring that one back in, guess what?
And made you doubt yourself.
It's almost identical to just having the first one at double the volume. Why? Because if you think about panning, it really is just whether the left or the right channel is playing. And if you've got a sound that's mono, like this, now this is slightly stereo because it has some stereo delay on there, which is why you're hearing a little bit of width, but it's not going to do a whole lot unless you actually delay one of these sounds. So I've showed this in previous videos. You can either manually delay it, so you can either come in here and literally manually just shimmy it a little bit to one side, so you actually get some manual delay, or you can use a delay, like a time shift plugin to do that. But now if we have this on the left and the right with that little bit of delay, you get a sound like this.
Hesitation.
And again, you wouldn't even do it that much. You'd come here and you'd zoom all the way in and you'd just give it the tiniest bit and you go like that.
Hesitation and fear of change.
So that is an option that you have there. The reason that I don't recommend that is that if you're using the same bit of audio twice, you're missing a really cool option here, which is if I just record this vocal a second time as a double and then push them to the left and right, you get some natural differences in the tone and the way that you actually sing them in that can make them sound much cooler. And then you do actually get stereo width. Same with guitars. If you get one guitar, then you copy it, duplicate it to your other track, put them left and right and delay one slightly, it'll sound okay. If you play in the guitar part twice, put one left, one right, then you get something like I had in my track here, because that's exactly what I did. Is if we come out here, I'm just going to delete that before I get super confused as to why I did it, and make sure this is not panned to the left. Yeah, so if you have guitars like this, that's exactly what I've done here. I've got this one panned to the left, this one to the right, but they're different performances of almost the exact same part. So if we come in here, here's the left, bring in the right. but you're going to get a whole bunch more width because you've got both of those in effect, and they're two different performances. So hopefully that helps you out. But yeah, really, really good question. Thank you for that. Hopefully that helps you out. And don't worry, it says got a lot of work to do. It's fine. It's a lifelong learning experience. You spoke to me 5 years ago, I would have been like all about, yep, just grab your track, duplicate it, pan it left and right, delay one by a few milliseconds, and go with it. I've learnt since that, you know what, doesn't take actually that much longer to just perform it again, and you get the benefit of having that nice, thick and rich sound. And yes, as Tom says, you can use the sample delay AU plugin and also process and EQ it different. Exactly. So you just want difference. You want your left and your right to be different so that they actually sound thicker. So Kirk says, what the heck, that's a good idea. The outro will echo and fade so it sounds like you're going further away. Yeah, from the song as it ends. Definitely. So, and that's the thing. I want that to really sort of fade out and echo at the end. Hopefully that will work. Yes, and you can use the stereo lag there. Exactly, Jeff. So the stereo lag plugin is another option which does almost exactly the same thing. So if you came in here and you grabbed audio unit extension, and you went, where is it? Stereo lag delay. Yeah, there it is. So that does, stereo lag delay is actually cool because you don't even need to duplicate the track. You can just tell it. So you can do a version of what I just said. You can just offset your sound by like, say, 3 milliseconds to the right, and then you get an automatic version of that delay sound. So you get something like this.
Hesitation and fear of change
Turn it off.
have paralyzed you.
So yeah, stereo lag for the win as well. An easy way to do that. I think what you're learning here, hopefully, is that there is not one way to do things. As I've said many, many times, I get frustrated when I hear people say, the only way to EQ guitars is to do blah. The only way to record vocals is to do blah. No, there's a heap of different ways. Do what works for you. Trial and error, experiment. You never know what you might find works and what doesn't work. So keep trying things. And Jade says, I love the old school way of doing things instead of just throwing on another plugin. Yeah, exactly. You can do it. You can do it whatever way works for you. Exactly. It sounds eargasm double tracking guitars. Yeah, double tracking guitars is a fun thing to do. Does anyone have any questions? We're going to jump in. We've got 10 minutes left. We'll jump in and just talk about some of this other stuff, because if you came here just wanting the some information about the actual sort of the mixing doubt and all that sort of thing, I want to make sure we cover that one. A few questions here we'll answer quickly. Do I have a streaming schedule or just stream randomly? I do have a schedule on the weekends. So I have this 3 live shows I do every weekend. There's Home Studio Q&A, there's GarageBand Weekly, and there's the Happy Hour. Everything else is kind of when it comes. But if you join the mailing list, if you go to studiolivetoday.com/email, you'll get the most up-to-date view and schedule of when I go live and what I do. Benjamin Kelsey says, how's the song end? You could even do a synth only as an outro, or the initial end of the song, have silence for a moment, then the synth gradually fade back in by themselves for a moment. That's not a bad idea. That's something I'm going to consider. Definitely. So maybe I do that. Maybe the synths rejoin that final guitar as like a boop, 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 and just like fade out like with some electronic sound. Very cool. I like it. Now, I know that some other folks actually asked some questions way further up. I'm probably not going to... I think, Claire, you were asking about some lyric ideas and things. Claire, here's one question. Can a good mix save the sound of a pretty crappy microphone? So you can't fix it in the mix, but you can improve it in the mix. If you get it right at the source, like crappy microphone or good microphone, if you record it well with a crappy microphone, it's going to be better than recording it poorly with a great microphone. So this is a great microphone, in my opinion. This is the Audio-Technica AE3300. It's about a $400 mic. It sounds great. But if I record it too close with the gain up too high, it's going to sound terrible, because I'm not recording it correctly. The same is with if you've got a $50 microphone or a $20 microphone. If you get your right distance from the mic, you use a pop filter or a foam cover to cut down your plosives, and you set your input gain correctly, you're going to get a good mix with a cheaper mic. So it's not as much about the gear as it is about how you record with the gear you have. Tom, yeah, especially that bottom one, especially this inharmonic lead, that definitely needs to come up, because that kind of steals the show, I think, in that part. The bit where it does its little bop, 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 bop. I really like it. A little arpeggio. Yeah, I'm a bit proud of that one. I'm sorry, I'm probably missed a whole bunch of stuff. So yeah, if you do have something that I didn't get to, please circle back and jump back around to the comments after the show. One final question from Jay though: how are you going to approach the growling vocals at the end? With trepidation, because I haven't growled for a while. I was talking to my wife yesterday and I said, man, I need to I'm missing something. I've been singing so many acoustic songs for so long. I've forgotten how to scream and yell and do things. So I'm probably not going to do it well. Don't do as I do because I'll probably just have to have a go and probably hurt my voice a little bit for a very short period of time. It's only a very small section. So I'll probably just do about 4 takes of it and then comp together the best takes. So I might actually do some vocal comping on this one. What genre do I mainly focus on? Yeah, singer-songwriter acoustic stuff. That's probably what I do the most of because, it's just what I've been leaning towards. I bought a nice Taylor guitar a few years ago, and since then I've just been playing sort of acoustic singer-songwriter folksy rock. But yeah, this is me rediscovering my rock roots. Hopefully. We'll see how we go. One final one here. How can I get the vocal sound levels without a mic? With your vocals, if you have without a mic, it can be hard because you used to be able to have, and you still do on some devices. Over here on the left, see, this is grayed out. You used to be able to actually drive up and down the input gain. You can't really do it these days. So it really comes down to distance from the mic and shielding. So making sure you've got some sort of pop filter or some sort of something to sing through so you're not getting the plosives. And then you do have to lean a bit more heavily on your EQ if you're using, say, the built-in mic or something to record with. But there are ways, there are means. I've done videos here on the channel about how to get a decent sound. And then, gear is not the answer, but eventually, if you've got no microphone at all, you may need to start sort of improving your setup, not going out and spending thousands, but potentially improving. Sorry, I keep getting questions. I bought an iRig amplitude, but it won't work. But it don't work with a mic. It works well. Not quite sure what the question is there, Ernesto. iRigs that only have a 1/4-inch jack won't work well with a mic because they don't have a preamp. They are only for instruments. You need something like the iRig Pre or the iRig Pro IO that has an actual preamp built in. Then you can plug in your microphones via XLR. Let's finish up because again, I did want to cover more of this, but I got distracted by the music. I procrastinated talking about this. Funnily enough about that. So we covered right at the start. If you have doubts about your mix, it is 100% standard, natural. Almost everyone experiences it, except sociopaths, as we've mentioned. And failure is good, or more accurately, mistakes are good. It's actually how we learn. If you don't make mistakes when you're doing things, if I hadn't tried different stuff here that didn't work, imagine if I hadn't tried, these synth sounds, they may not work, they may go, but they may actually make this song cooler than anything I've done before. Because I tried it, because I put something in there that was a bit different and out of my comfort zone. So try things. They can only not work. And then people get all hung up on things that don't work. And they're like, I wasted all that time. No, you spent time experimenting and investigating what didn't work. So then by a process of elimination, you can work out what does work. So don't be afraid of that. Let's just go through some quick fire tips here. If it stops being fun, stop doing it. That's pretty simple, at least temporarily. I'm not saying, throw your guitar in the fire if it frustrates you for one day, but step away, take a break. When the going gets tough, don't just quit, but sometimes you do need to take a break. A bit of a mental health break. Rest your ears, rest your brain, rest your body, and then come back stronger in the future. I promise you, I've never done that and then come back and it's been worse. It's always better. Almost always, in my opinion. Do take breaks. Work on a different song. I was talking to buddy Jude last night on a different stream, and he was mentioning the same thing. He's like, if you're not liking it, you're not digging it, go work on a different song. And I'm like, yeah, totally. That is a great idea, because it might just be that one song is not working for you. You go work on a different song, and guess what happens sometimes? You suddenly have an idea that will work on your other song. And then you're like, oh, cool, gold. And then you jump back over to your other song, and then you add it back to that. So yeah, work on a different song. Play some cover songs. I mean, the reason I do the happy hour every weekend, I do a live show where I stream me playing mostly cover songs, is that every week I learn a new cover song. It gives me some new understanding of chord progression, of song structure, of lyric structure. it helps my songwriting. So many people look down their nose at cover songs and say, no, it's got to be original, man. Don't play no cover songs. Cover songs are the best way to learn how to do things. Like if you want to be a professional chef, it's like saying never follow a recipe from a professional chef if you're starting out being a chef. Of course you want to follow a bloody recipe from a professional chef. You don't know what you're doing yet. So the best way is to learn from people that are producing the things you want to do. So if I'm playing a cover of a Pearl Jam song so that I can learn how to write a song inspired by a Pearl Jam song, that's great. That's what you need to do. Share with a trusted personal group. Can't stress this enough. The folks over on the Create, Record, Release Facebook group hopefully agree with this, but there's been a heap of sharing, lots of feedback, lots of things bouncing around. A lot of folks have been sharing on slaps.com recently, on the Your Music live show, but even if you're just finding one person that you can share with or a couple of people you can share with, what do they say? A problem shared is a problem halved. Well, sometimes when you're stressed out and you're feeling it, just talking to other people can help. I know Jade said that right at the start of this show. She said that, yeah, she was in a bit of a bad place and feeling a bit overwhelmed, but it was the support of other people around her to say, nah, you're crushing it. You're doing well. You've probably just bitten off a little more than you can chew right now. Take a break. Come back to it. You'll do it. You'll crush it out. Do something else. Yeah, video games, walking, coffee, water. I should say water. Not always coffee. Coffee isn't always the answer, but it's a good suggestion a lot of the time. And I do want to completely reiterate my positive procrastination method. It's one of the things that I've learned. So I've got a few things I need to do that I've been procrastinating. So I was procrastinating the other night. I needed to do my taxes. I really don't want to do my taxes. It's so boring. I'm going through receipts and I'm looking at numbers and like I can do numbers, but I can't do dollars. Like I've always been terrible at accounting and economics. It's never clicked with me. So I was procrastinating this stuff. So what did I do? Again, I did a whole bunch of music stuff. I did a whole bunch of other admin. I put all the clothes away. I tidied the house. I dusted. I got the spray and wipe and sprayed the toilet. That's how desperate I was to avoid it. But you know what? Clean toilet, clothes put away, emails up to date, music done. And then yesterday I had a clear mind. I sat down last night, did my taxes, crushed it out in about an hour. Like I when I say did my taxes, got all my stuff ready to hand to my accountant and go, help me. But yeah, that's the sort of thing you can do. Positive procrastination. If you're going to procrastinate, you might as well get something done that's going to actually help you because it will help you. It clears your mind. And then again, that final thing is dick around time. You need dick around time. You need time to just for yourself where you can just do your own thing and and just enjoy yourself. Just have fun. Well done on the taxes. Yeah, like I say, not done, but at least I managed to push forward and get that. And Tom Rochelle says, yeah, I do that kind of thing all the time. Yeah, you can tell when you've got a big project due, your house has never been cleaner, right? So do that. Embrace that. I used to feel bad doing that, and then I'm just like, nah, I'm going to crush it out, man. I'm going to go and clean my whole house top to bottom. I realized I've had my static image over here the whole time. Still getting used to using Restream, so we can turn that one off so that we can say goodbye. That is going to do it. We are right at the end of time here. Head over to Jade Starr's channel now if you want some more iOS-related, app-related, music recording-related, Songtember-related fun, because she's talking all about Reverb Nation. I'll be tuning in for that because I have no idea about Reverb Nation. Never used it. It's like I think it's like a Bandcamp / SoundCloud / music sharing, selling. I don't know. I'm going to find out. You and I can find out together. Go ahead and do that. I'll be back with more videos through the week. Remember, Songtember is only 7 days left to go. But, of course, if you don't get there, you know what? If you release on the 5th of October, that's all cool. You've done a lot more than you would have done if you hadn't started. Everyone starts at zero, and if you don't know where to start, just start. That is going to do it for this one. I didn't play the song. I didn't play the song. Tell you what I'll do. I will put a version. I'll put another video out after Jade's video in a couple of hours, which is going to be a quick current mix so that you can comment on that one. So a separate video from this live stream that's just going to be the current mix as it is, and then you can jump on that video and provide any feedback that you want to. So that'll come later today, probably in the next couple of hours. So hopefully you can do that. All right. Thanks for everyone. Please be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. Have a great day of creating, and I'll see you real soon.